It's me, your Void, and we're freaking out again! It's the time of the year where everyone and their mom freaks out about books again, so let's have a little mid-year book freakout session. Little disclaimer, if you can hear knocking, that is not the ghost living in my walls, that's my neighbors doing something. I don't know, they have been knocking along all day long at this point. So yeah, if you can hear that, just try to ignore it, I guess. Nothing I can do about it. So we're having us a bit of a mid-year book freakout, and I played around with the questions of this tag a bit more, because if you have seen my freakout from last year, then you will notice that there are some questions that I don't really answer necessarily. And then I saw Gavin's video from Gavin Reads It All, and he played around with the questions, and I realized, hey, I can do that too. So I played around with the questions a bit, and I frankensteined the whole thing together from the versions that EarlGreyBooks, IsThatKami, and Gavin from Gavin Reads It All made. Yeah, so we're just going to go through a bunch of questions, and hopefully I can remember to put the questions I use down in the description, so if you want to do this version, First question. How is your reading so far for this year? And I have to say, it's pretty good. I'm on top of all of my goals in terms of the books I have read. I'm over 40 already, which means I am this close to finishing my 52 books read goal. I am also ahead on the willy-nilly page count goal that I only have because Storygraph gives me the option to have one. I have a lot of fun with the YouTube's thing-of-a-thing thing that is going on here. I have fun with the readathons I'm participating in. We put brackets on the one in May. That's not the readathon's fault, that was my fault. I am the problem. So it's all the good stuff. It's all the good stuff when it comes to reading. I could use a couple more 5 stars. They are a bit sparse this year. And I could use a little less of the 2 stars, because oh my god, there are so many books this year so far. And it's not just because I try to expand on my genre. There are a lot of books that should be cool for me that I'm just like, eh. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make to expand my horizon. Second question, what's the best book you read so far in 2024? And that is by a long shot, The Black Prism by Brent Weeks and Teacher of the Year by M.A. Waddell. 2 very different books. One is a older high fantasy with dense world building and so many characters, and the magic system is just, yes, it's a flawed book. Of course it is. But I just enjoyed my time with it. It's one of my 5-star reads this year, and yes, I am a fan. What can I say? And Teacher of the Year is a cozy, gay romance that is just so cuddly, and it made me feel things, and I hated for it, and God, it's so cute. Just made me feel warm and fuzzy, and I hate it. So I have a new kind of fantasy candy, and a new kind of, like, just this little bundle of queer joy. Yes! Third question, what's the best book you reread this year? And I only had 2 rereads so far. I'm not yet counting Arc of a Scythe because I have not finished this reread as of filming this video. So we can only go with Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo or Spectrum by Ethan Cross. And of the 2, it's Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. They were both good. I enjoyed my time almost equally with them. They are of different genres, they do 2 very different things. But I enjoyed my time with both of them, but Leigh Bardugo gets like a little on top of it, just because it's fantasy, and fantasy is my favorite genre, shortly followed by the action thrillers that Ethan Cross puts out. Question 4. What's the best manga you read this year? And I expand that to encompass comics as well. And that would be, without a doubt, the Mighty Nine Origins comic about Mollymauk Tea Leaf. It was just short tidbits of his life before he joined the Mighty Nine. And it just, in the short time that this comic has to deliver a story, it represented Molly's character just perfectly. Just the chaos and the goodness and just Chef's kiss. Love it. The first kind of hard to answer question is, what's the best sequel you read so far this year? The perceptive viewer might know that I am notoriously bad at continuing and finishing series. So the whole sequel thing? Hard to answer. So far I read a total of 7 sequels this year. And that's already counting 2 mangas and 2 comic volumes. And one of the remaining 3 is technically one of those standalone romances that just happen to take place in the same universe. I still count it as a sequel. So my answer to the question of best sequel is Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson, which is book 2 in the Remnant Chronicles. The Remnant Chronicles are, first of all, incredibly floppy. Second of all, it's a YA fantasy romance trilogy that heavily focuses on the fantasy aspect in this second installment, actually. We still have a lot of romance going on, but we get a huge expansion on the world, and our main character is learning things about her own magic. So I would actually say this book focuses more on the fantasy part of the fantasy romance, whereas the first book focuses more on the romance part of the fantasy romance. That's the best sequel I read this year so far. Fingers crossed I read a couple more sequels. Question number 6 is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to read? First of all, I don't own said new release yet, but the new release I really want to get my hands on and read is How to Bare Your Neck and Save a Wreck by Deanne Bryn, which is the continuation of How to Sell Your Blood and Fall in Love, which is the sequel of How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager. Oh my god, these titles are killing me. But yeah, if I would read that book, I would actually read a sequel and a sequel to the sequel. But again, these are also kind of standalone-ish romances where we follow vampires who fall in love with humans, and we stick it to Big Farmer, and that is kind of the overarching plot, story, arc, thingamathing thing that we say fuck you to a Big Farmer company. And in these books we have different representations of mental health issues, of physical health issues, and vampirism itself is more like a disability. You don't get super cool superpowers like you usually get in your vampire novels, and these are just queer bundles of joy, not unlike Teacher of the Year, but with a bit more biting. Next question, what's your biggest anticipated, most anticipated new release for the next half of the year? And I still don't do new releases. When books happen, they happen. I'm too stupid and too lazy to keep an eye out on books that are coming out in the future when I have so many in my present. Next question, what's the worst book you read so far this year? And for this, I am not counting any of my DNFs. I only count books that I read front to back, so finished books. And for that I have to say it's The Pawnbroker by Stuart G. Yates, because this promises something and then it doesn't deliver. This is, 300 pages? About 300 pages of absolute boredom. Half of the time I don't even know why the characters are doing the things they are doing, and the big bad evil guy is just not big, stereotypically bad, and I wouldn't even call him evil. He's just a bully who thinks it cool to harass some teenagers in 2 different timelines. So yeah, a lot of potential and all of it was wasted. This is just boring. Next question, what's the biggest disappointment this year so far? Me. Just kidding. It's The Pawnbroker again. Just like I said, this has some very interesting promises. There is potential in the concept of this story. It's just that the rest of the book does not deliver on it. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And then we have the opposite. What's the biggest surprise of the year so far? And for that I have to go with Murder in the House of Anubis. This is a short little book with a not wacky premise, but a wacky setting. And it's from 1994. A murder mystery in ancient Egypt. It's just so out there. I wasn't expecting anything from this book besides maybe the odd sexist joke or something. And yet I was thoroughly entertained by this little thing. It was just fun. It was just solid 300 pages of fun. And I have to mention a mystery April read, which is Forgotten Soul by Natasha Duncan Drake. A tiny novella. And somehow we get three-dimensional characters and a cohesive storyline that is also intriguing. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how all of this fit into just, I think it was 30 pages or something. Just short and sweet, and I liked it. It was very surprising that it was this good and that it delivered on everything. By the way, if you want to know more about my mysterious April reads, some of them are actually showing up on my Instagram where I review the things I read. So maybe you want to head over to my Instagram and look at books. Next question. Who's your new favorite author? And for that I have to go with Brent Weeks. This is book 2 in the Lightbringer series. I only read book 1, The Black Prism, and I then ventured and got myself the other books. Let's see if I can continue a series! I only had Brent Weeks for about 600 pages, but I like what he did with those 600 pages. I know there are questionable descriptions of women in there. I was icked myself. But I'm a sucker for the kind of world building this man does, and I like the characters. So what can I say? I have questionable taste. Speaking of questionable taste, who is your new favorite fictional crush? Is also answered by a Brent Weeks book, because I really like Gavin. I have such bad taste, but I just like Gavin. I just like Gavin and how he does things. There is a certain ruthlessness to him that is just, yes. But, and it's a big but, not all hope is lost for me, because I also really like Adrian from Lord of the Lost Isles. And that is the character I will redeem myself with, because this guy will save me from Gavin, probably from myself as well. Yay for saving me from my own bad taste. And we have another question that I can answer in a single sentence. What book made you cry this year? None. I don't cry at books, and since I haven't reread The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue so far, I did not cry at any of the books that I read. None of them even came close. Next question. Who is your new favorite character? And no, it's not Gavin. It's the Nightmare from One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. Excuse you? But yeah, The Nightmare from One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. Because I love me a dark, sassy poet who can rip my enemies to shred. Hello? Yes. Next question. What is the most beautiful book cover that you have bought so far this year? And for that I have to go with Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, because yes. The whole composition is just chef's kiss, and I don't know if you can see it a bit. There is foiling around the edges, and yes, this is my kind of cover. This is a very attractive cover. And there's another book that I think is really pretty, and that is the book that so unceremoniously interrupted me just now. Very rude. Is Court of Nightmares by K.A. Knight. Again, I just like the composition, the color combination of white, red, and just a hint of black. Yes! I am very easy to please, and this does it. Moving on to what book made you happy this year? And for that I have to go again with Teacher of the Year by M.A. Wardell, because oh my god! It's like the scene at the end of The Grinch when his heart grows 3 sizes. I was like, I was giggling and screeching and squeaking like a squeaky toy by the end of it, and yes, it just, something inside me bloomed, and I love it. And another kind of happy I got from The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonald, because this book is just funny. It's just funny. It is so inherently British. So if you don't like British humor, maybe don't touch it. I snort laughed in the first 40 pages and it just kept going. It kept going. It's so absurd. I love it. There is a story in here, they talk about a possessed toilet. They talk about this toilet that is being possessed by a demon, and it is just so whack and so out there. I went and googled it, and I thought it's real when I stumbled upon the website of this book. Like, the author actually has a website where they have all of these articles and short stories, and it's so good. It's hilarious. I mean, who comes up with a toilet that is possessed by a demon? It's not even the main plot point that this toilet is possessed by a demon. It's just a side story. It's not even a side story. It's like a footnote in the whole book, but the rest of the book is just like that. Ah! Now I'm going to throw a lot of books around. The question is, what books do you need to finish before the end of the year? Again, the perceptive viewer might know that I don't do end of the year TBRs, but I might actually do one this year, right now, premiere. So first of all, my soft DNFs, because they will, if I don't finish them anytime soon, end up on my December TBR actually, as I do every year, which is City of Dusk, The Near Witch, and Guns of the Dawn. I talked about them 100 bajillion times, so I'm not going to repeat myself once again, but needs brain cells, not the vibe when I started it, super slow and weird pacing. That's why I soft DNF them. They should happen before the end of the year, the latest in December, because everything I don't finish ends up on my December TBR. But I have 3 more books that I actually want to finish by the end of the year, simply because by finishing them, I can finally finish a damn series in my life. First one being The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson, which is the 3rd book in the Remnant Chronicles. She's floppy just like her sisters. And I just want to finish a series! I enjoyed book 1 and 2. I read them not right after another, but like I read one in 1 month and then the second one in the second month, and then I just never picked up book 3. Why am I like this? So I really want to finish book 3 before the end of the year, just so I can finish a trilogy in a single year, because that would be amazing for once in my life. It would be such a feat. Same goes for Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillick. I read One Dark Window, I think 1 or 2 months ago, so not too long ago, and I would really like to finish the series. It's just a duology. How hard can it be to finish a duology in a single year when I have book 2 right here? And I liked book 1, so there is no reason for me not to like book 2. Someone kicked my ass, so I read this damn book! And another series closer would be One Foot in the Fade by Luke Arnold. It took me forever to actually pick up book 3. I read book 1 and 2. I really enjoyed it. The whole noir thing we go about in a world where magic just died. It's just, the setting is great. The characters are amazing. There is no reason for me not to read book 3 now that I have it. I kind of want to do so before the end of the year, just so I can finish another series. I have 44 series open on my list. I need to finish some of them. Last question for this Frankenstein version of this tag. What is your favorite book adaptation of this year? And technically this adaptation didn't start this year, it started earlier, but season 2 of Interview with the Vampire came out, and oh my god, every episode was written so good it hurt. I know I'm holding up the second book? I don't know. The Vampire Lestat. This is the book, The Vampire Lestat, which is going to be season 3. They have announced that we are getting Rockstar Lestat. I cannot wait for that. Sam Reed was born to play this role. Everyone should go watch Interview with the Vampire, the series, not the movie. Forget about the movie, the show. It's so damn good. It's so damn good. Everyone needs to watch it. It's so good. The Interview with the Vampire show is what The Witcher could have been if the producers actually cared about the source material. Interview with the Vampire has a cast, a crew that is invested 100%, and they want to deliver the best product possible. And they do! And there you have it. This is me freaking out about things that happened in the first half of this year, which also kind of more or less marks my 1-year anniversary on this hell site. Yay! There are 100 of you now, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, thank you for perceiving me yapping about books and shit. I guess. This is so surreal. Here's to another year of chaos, I guess. Yeah, if you made it this far into the video, leave the shocked face emoji thing in the comments, and I certainly am. Shocked, that is. I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Yeah, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Shit, shit. Stay. Be a nice book and stay.